Hey guys, welcome back to the review. My name's Jack, and today we are talking about WandaVision. Now, a warning, this is a spoiler review, so if you've not seen it or you don't care, this is full spoilers, so get out if you don't want to be spoiled. So I'll kick it off just with our general thoughts and our impressions of the show. So I'll kick it off with you, Kate. How did you find WandaVision?
I really enjoyed it. I did really like it, although I have to admit it was kind of just something that I put on to wake up in the morning, like background kind of thing. It didn't because I think some of the episodes are a bit slower and I didn't hate that. It just didn't mean that I was always racing. But by the last episode I was I'd wake up just to watch it. It was very good. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, and honestly it was just nice to have Marvel back, just because it's been so long since we had the Marvel opening theme. I enjoyed that. But to me, it felt like a bit of a missed opportunity. It felt like they teed up a lot of really cool potential ideas, and then by the end, it kind of ended up being a pretty generic Marvel thing.
Well, I also enjoyed it, but I am in a partial agreement with Nate, definitely, because I would say I think what kind of happened is they didn't quite stick the landing the way they'd hoped. I think they did miss out on definitely some potential plot points there. But I still think it was shot really well, and they casted brilliantly. It's definitely worth checking out.
As with all Marvel things, I think the cast is one of the strongest elements.
Yeah.
Even when sort of the plot isn't really going exactly where you think it should or whatever. The main cast who include, you get Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, reprising their characters. You also get Randall Parks back, we loved him. Kat Dennings back as Darcy Lewis, and some newbies like Tiona Paris. They are all really fun to watch. They're so charismatic that even when I thought the writing was a bit iffy, they sort of fought through and made it entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree. I think I was so invested in the characters, and that's obviously partially due to their roles as actors, and that's what kept me watching sometimes. It's just I have to find out what happens in their storyline, even if it's not exactly the best.
Marvel stuff doesn't get nominated for a lot of things, but I really hope that Elizabeth Olsen gets some sort of Emmy nod or something, because I really think her acting in this was phenomenal. Being able to switch between all the different genres, but also have this through line of grief and loss and pain. I think she acted perfectly in this.
I really
hope she gets. Paul Bettany as well.
Paul Bettany should get a nomination for Best Comedy Actor because
he was fantastic.
He just seemed to enjoy some of the sitcom bits so much, and it gave me joy.
I'm gonna have to agree with Nate and Lawrie. I think there was something definitely wrong with the ending, but the rest of the show was amazing. And I don't know if that was due to the actual writing or to everything else that was happening on the internet because of the show that everyone wanted to know. I feel like the best bits of the ending were the post-credit scenes, and that's not a good sign because there were 40 minutes before that of actual show, and that's not great.
The first episodes, when you're still trying to work out the mystery, I did enjoy those more, and I think that everyone I was talking to did, because obviously everyone starts to compete, have I worked it out better than you kind of thing, and then once you kind of knew what was going on, it became a bit more I could have predicted most of the last episode, and it was still nice to watch, but it didn't have that was what was kind of new in the first episodes. That's what made it so interesting to me, was that we were all trying to work it out, and then once you knew, it was a bit okay, I'll carry on, I'm invested.
I like the weekly aspect of the show, just going off of that, the being able to talk about each individual thing, because I think if this came out like a bingeable series, it wouldn't have had as good a response as it has. I'm planning on rewatching it, so it'll be interesting to see how it works all as one. I'm probably the most positive person here on it. I adored it. I love sitcoms, and this was just right up my street. The last episode did fall flat for me. I think it was a good ending to a near perfect show. I think it was very Marvel-like of here's a witch and a counterpart who is also a witch, and they're going to fight each other with orbs. There was no intelligence really to the fight. I do think that maybe is partially because of budget, because you look at what Doctor Strange does in the MCU, and you think, well, she could be doing this sort of stuff, but the visual effects on that, I'm going to guess, cost millions and millions of dollars. I just thought that the whole story of it being her loss and her grief was incredible. I don't think we really had that much time with a character in the MCU to properly dive into their psyche and to get a fully fleshed out character arc. I think you have, Cap and Iron Man over 10 years, and to a certain extent, I think Black Widow. But I think getting Wanda for 4 hours and really exploring her psyche was just ingenious. And I also, controversially, I think this is one of the better written things in the MCU. I really think it was so smartly written, and probably one of the best directed things. Like in the earlier episodes, shooting things like a 50s sitcom where you have static cams, but then when Wanda's breaking, the cams becoming free moving, like little things like that, I just thought were perfect. So, rating out of 10 Jimmy Woos. Would you recommend the show, and where would you rank it on your MCU list? If you don't have an exact ranking, just sort of top, mid, bottom.
I'm gonna rank it like probably 7.5, because I feel like it would have been like a strong 8.5, 9 if it didn't fall so flat on the ending, because the ending is so important, especially in a mini-series that is not gonna have any other seasons. Probably like at the top, because like a strong female lead that actually makes sense as a lead and not just like, look, woman, so that's I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but I am. So yeah, that's that's me. That's me.
Would you recommend it? Yeah.
Yes, except the ending. Probably don't watch the final episode and remain with the mystery.
It can have 8 Jimmy Woos from me, because I did really enjoy it, like, overall, and I'd recommend it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of like a fake Marvel fan, so for me it's kind of like, I guess, in the middle to top, but have I watched that many movies? No. So take that with a pinch of salt, but maybe that's Dago. If you aren't a massive Marvel fan, I would still recommend it. I definitely really enjoyed it.
Nice. So you don't need to have watched all 23 movies to understand the show.
No, you don't. You can just be like me and come along for good old Tom Holland and a bit of Iron Man occasionally and just enjoy your life.
I'm torn between 6 and 7, but since we're naming them Jimmy Woos, he's so optimistic that I guess I'll go a 7. I'd say it's kind of... it's in the lower third of MCU for me. I think it's just... I don't mind when Marvel just does dumb stuff and they're just like, we're just going to do... It's just going to be dumb. Just have fun. And I enjoy when Marvel is like, we're going to try and push the boundaries out a little bit, but this was such a like, it's presented itself and packaged itself as pushing the boundaries out of for Marvel, and then the end was just so disappointingly generic that it really sucked some of the fun out for me. So even though like it might artistically be better than some of the MCU films, it's just frustrating that there's that lost opportunity. I would recommend it to people who are a fan of Marvel, or if you're really bored and looking for a TV show, but I definitely think there's better stuff out there.
I would probably give it 7 or 8 Jimmy Woos, depending on kind of how ingrained into Marvel you are. I think the more you are, the kind of more you'll buy into some of the old Easter eggs and things like that, which might help you bring it up to an 8. But I think if you haven't covered a lot of it and you're purely going on how good a TV show is, I can see you dropping to kind of a 7 or maybe even lower. I could understand that for sure. In terms of MCU, I'd probably rank it probably top 10, but I wouldn't rank it anywhere past 7. So I'd probably, high, fairly high for what I was expecting. So I am pleasantly surprised for sure. And I would recommend it, yeah, definitely.
I would rate it 9 out of 10 Jimmy Woos.
I'm so surprised.
I honestly, I loved it.
I'm just glad you didn't give it 10. That would have been ridiculous.
That would have hurt a little bit.
No, I like, if I take all the pieces of it and really look at it, I think it has some of the best directing. As I've said before, like costume design, like attention to detail, the music out of all the Marvel projects. I think it does fall flat at the end and it does have its problems, but I enjoyed having a character study in the MCU. We don't get that a lot. It was a nice fresh take, and also it's fun. It's really funny. For some of the sitcom episodes, they're actually properly good sitcom episodes, which I wasn't expecting. I thought it was just going to be this mystery and we were just going to get strung along, but I looked forward to watching a 50s sitcom on a Friday with some weird advert in the middle of it, and then talking while 7 minutes of credits roll past about what clues we found and what we thought was going to happen. So I just really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. Anyone who likes sitcoms, anybody who likes that sort of show, or if you like Marvel, you've probably watched this anyways, so it doesn't really matter. And because I'm a big old nerd, I have rated it on a distinct list. So it right now falls at number 4 on my list, which I knew I was going to get hate for since you said bottom third. I've said before, I really think it's well done. I thought it was a really interesting examination of grief. So if you've watched WandaVision, comment down below what you thought and rate it out of Jimmy Woo's